Hey guys, welcome to this very fun episode of TFL Car Chat. As always, I've got my man Nathan here.
Howdy, guys.
And if you're wondering, and you're not seeing this if you're listening to it, why I'm holding my phone up next to my mic, and that's because I've got my best friend Steve on the phone. This is an old-fashioned way of actually talking to Steve. Say hi, Steve.
Hey, what's up, guys?
We could have Zoomed it, Nathan, but we're old school.
We're old school, and Roman doesn't like those newfangled devices. His VCR still is flashing 12 o'clock.
So in this episode, I am going to help my man Steve buy a new car. And Steve has been my best friend since college. And if you look behind us, Nathan, you'll see a picture of me being the best man at Steve's wedding.
Yes, that's not Mike Ditka, ladies and gentlemen. That is Roman with a very, very 80s mustache. Which means, Steve, I guess he's known you for the past 60 years, 50 years?
No, God. You bastard. Yeah, we've been 6 years. 6 years
Oh,
ago.
yeah, that's right.
6 years ago, we graduated together.
Mhm, that's right. Yeah, guys, take that with a
We're
grain of salt.
actually younger than his son. I don't know if anybody told you that.
All right, to prove that this is one of my, or if not my best friend, Steve, I have a drink here. What am I drinking?
It's obviously going to be iced tea.
Uh-huh.
So,
And sweetened or unsweet? Yeah, exactly right. Winner. This man knows me.
You know, there's a funny irony. My wife, who I've been married to for about nearly 25 years, she absolutely has no idea what I drink or what I do or even what I wear. So, yeah, you guys are close.
Yeah, but I know what you drink. See? You get to know.
Of course you do.
I know.
I'm a coffee. All I drink is coffee. I mean, Roman knows this, but yeah, it's
you
okay.
go.
All right. Well, let's not keep him waiting any longer. Let's get to the point where we help Steve buy a new car. So,
Well, can we put a couple things in perspective
Yes.
for our listeners? Okay. Now, Steve is based in Chicago. Am I correct?
very good.
Okay.
Steve is in the suburbs of Chicago,
In this-
where I grew up. Yes.
Okay, well, it's all the same. Anyway, good pizza. That's good news. So he's out there, and he is getting out of, frankly, a car that both of us hold our noses up to just slightly, and he's going to look at, I believe, around 10 cars that he's been, put on his list. Am I correct?
Yeah, 10 cars. But tell me, Steve, what are you getting rid of and why?
Well, I've had a 2014 Subaru Outback. Honestly, I developed an affinity for Subarus when I was out in Colorado going to school out there, and I just became fascinated and loved them. Didn't acquire one until 2014, so 10 years ago. And I remember Roman telling me, you might want to get rid of it when I had about 150,000 miles.
No. Actually, let me be more specific. I told you to get rid of it when the horn stopped working, because a horn is one of these things that may not seem important until it is, and then it's very
Until
important.
you need it, right?
Yeah.
So how many more miles did you go after I told you to get rid of it?
I now have 243,000 miles.
Wow. So only 100,000 miles more, and then he says, yeah, okay.
Roman has great advice, but it needs to be hammered into my brain a few times before I actually listen.
Like water off a duck.
Yeah, so did you buy one of those little bicycle horns maybe at the market for a little kid's bike, so at least you could tell them? No, probably not, huh?
All right. So you did not take my advice. You kept driving this piece of what. But what caused you to finally decide that it's time to retire the old Subaru?
Hey, podcast listeners and TFL Talk viewers. I wanted to take a minute to talk to you about a quick and simple way to sell your car or truck with the help of our new partner, HighRoad. With HighRoad's online portal, you enter your vehicle's VIN number or plate, mileage, and zip code, and you'll get competing offers from several qualified dealers in your area within seconds. You pick the best deal offered and follow through with the dealer to sell your car. No more managing scammy emails from buyers on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. No more time wasted on no-show buyers. No bait and switch with a "will you take a check" excuse from sketchy buyers. Now keep in mind, these offers will be for trade-in values of your vehicle. If you want to go through the hassle of getting more for your car, that's up to you. But if you want to sell your car hassle-free and fast, go to tflcar.com and click Sell Your Car in the navigation menu. Or click on the HighRoad ad at the bottom of the website if you're on mobile, or click on the column if you're on a desktop. HighRoad makes it easy, and we like easy.
I'll tell you, within the last 6 months, I've had to take the car into the mechanic no less than 3 times, because there are moments when, if you look at the dashboard, the lights are going off like a Christmas tree, blinking on and off. The warning lights, brake lights. I mean, all at one time. So all 4 times that I've taken it in, it's been a different issue, and each time it's been close to $1,000. It's been outrageous. So this last time was a few days ago. I brought it in, and the mechanic said, "Listen, we've got a couple of problems now. We've had a catalytic converter you might have to replace, or will have to replace, and we have something in your coolant. It's either transmission fluid or oil from the engine." So they did. They looked into it. They found it was transmission fluid, and so they've now replaced my radiator. They have flushed out my catalytic converter, which is going to buy me maybe another month before things start to break down. But I can't drive long distances with it anymore. So, we are in a desperate mode to try to find something to replace it.
All right, so Nathan, in my expert opinion, a Subaru with 240,000 miles and a dashboard that's lit up like a Christmas tree is worth what I call charity money. In other words, whatever you get by donating it to your favorite charity.
Yeah, that might be the best bet for it. I believe 2014, that was before the CVTs went throughout the entire fleet. So that probably explains why you have so many miles. I've heard a lot of other people being able to get nearly 250,000 miles, but once they get there, then there are catastrophic issues that hit those cars. And you're not a wrench, right? You don't go and wrench on your own vehicles. Am I correct? I guess that's his laughing means no. So you're not mechanically inclined, I'm going to assume. Am I correct?
We can tell some stories, but
okay.
You answer, Steve.
What is that? Say it again.
Are you a wrench? Do you work on your own vehicles?
You know what? I do. I drive it to a mechanic and then make sure they handle it expertly. But I do drive it to the mechanic. So
no, that's
the extent of my wrenching.
Wow, you're qualified. Okay, so the good news here is that at least you're smart enough to go to a mechanic. Yeah, there are people who try to work on those things who don't know how to work on them.
All right, so what's the use case for your car, Steve? Now, you are an attorney that is now retired, so how do you use it?
Driving back and forth I'm working as a substitute teacher, so I'm driving in a couple different districts around the area, but mostly it's going to visit my daughter and my grandchildren, my son-in-law rather, about 3.5 hours south of Chicago.
Oh, so that's a long distance trip.
Yeah, back and forth, maybe once or twice a month.
Okay, all right, and then the list of cars that you sent me that you're considering, and I'm going to read these off to you, Nathan, and to the listeners and viewers, are as follows. Number 11, Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid. Number 10, the Toyota Venza Hybrid. Number 9, the Kia Sorento Hybrid. Number 8, the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. I'm seeing a pattern here, Nathan.
Why do you hate hybrids?
Number 7, the Ford Escape Hybrid. Number 9, the Mazda CX-90 Hybrid. Number 5, the Toyota Grand Highlander Hybrid, which I think is the most expensive on this list. Number 4, the Kia Niro Hybrid. Number 3, the Kia Sportage Hybrid. Number 2, the Honda CR-V Hybrid. And of course, at number 1 is the Hyundai Tucson Hybrid. And that's quite a list, but the sense I'm getting is that you need some space in your car.
Okay.
Space, and I want better gas mileage. I'll tell you, towards the end of this Outback's life, it just started producing really bad gas mileage, maybe down to 20, 25 miles per gallon. And it was just horrendous. So I needed to get something. I need to get something that's going to be better.
And the obvious question that I asked, or I want to ask, is, have you considered an electric car, or is this something that you're afraid of at this point?
You know, I think it's two things. One, I'm afraid. And two, I think it wouldn't be practical for me for what we need it for. Just driving back and forth 3.5 hours each time, and sometimes not being able to stop for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever long it would take to recharge the battery. There isn't the infrastructure at my daughter's house to charge the car, but it's in a small town in just west of Springfield, so the infrastructure is not as great. I feel hesitant to do it, primarily maybe out of fear more than anything. I've watched your site. I've watched your different TFL sites, and I know that you guys have traveled long distances with electric cars, and you've managed to do it. I don't know that I'm as capable as you guys.
You know what's interesting, Nathan? He's kind of where most car buyers are at right now, right? So for a long time, people were kind of, at least early adapters, were into electric cars, but then everybody now has decided that hybrids are kind of the right solution for the right
They're
job.
still making over 1 million electric cars a year.
Right.
It's not everybody, but there are a lot of people are realizing it. And here's the thing with your friend, it makes total sense. By the way, your daughter lives very close to one of my closest friends who lives in Springfield. So there you go.
Nice.
I know, right?
But the reason I wanted to have Steve on is that he does represent kind of where people are at right
Well,
now.
he's an everyman who's educated. I mean, he knows you, so sorry about that part. But the point is that he's going through something. He's not a car expert, and he's looking for something. Now, listen, that list is a little. Yes, they're all hybrids, but some of the vehicles you were talking about are definitely 6-passenger plus capacity, and some really are more like 4.5 to 5 people capacity. You mentioned you have grandchildren. So how many people do you really need to put in your vehicle? Let's go there first.
Honestly, I've looked at these cars as being hybrids, as being something that would accommodate the 2 grandkids, but we're not going to be driving them very often. In fact, when we go down to visit my daughter, she has the baby seats, the car seats in her automobile, so we'd switch over to her car anyway. So for me, 4 to 5 people at the most, I think that's really all I need.
So you don't need a third row, is what I'm hearing.
Right.
100%.
Okay, so the CX-90 and the Grand Highlander, unnecessary. Both of them are very good. I think that both of them are very close in price. The CX-90 hybrid is really pricey.
Yeah.
So let's take those off your list right away, as good as they are. And let's start talking about what you want to do. Do you want a little bit of fun?
Say it again?
Do you want a little bit of fun?
How important is how fun the car is to drive? Is it more utility and fuel economy, or is it more fun or styling? Where would you rank those on your list of what you want?
Just so we're clear, let me go back a little bit in my background.
Sure.
My very first car that I bought was a 1986 Honda Civic with no air conditioning and no radio. So I am not a, hey, let's get crazy, let's have fun kind of guy. I'm a more practical, if I can afford it, and I want a car that's got the things that I do need. At the time, I didn't need air conditioning. I learned quickly as I got older.
So hold on, Nathan. Two things here, okay?
How could he ever be your friend?
I know.
You guys are so different.
First, it took us a long time to graduate college.
Yeah, I bet.
Like 30 years. And secondly, so he has this, I'm going to say, crap box car, this Honda Civic, and he needs to drive it back to Illinois, but we're like, hey, let's stop in Boulder. So I go pick him up, and he says, Roman, this car does not have a 12-volt, plug. And I'm like, there's no car in the world that doesn't have a 12-volt plug, because I wanted to bring a fuzzbuster, right? So that we could do it quickly. So we're going to drive from, was it Dallas or Houston? I forget.
Dallas. It was Dallas to Boulder.
Yeah, we're going to right through the middle of nothing, Texas, right? Amarillo. And I'm like, we're going to speed. And so I show up with my old fuzzbuster, right? And once again, he managed to buy a car without an outlet to plug anything
Without
in.
a cigarette lighter.
Yeah, basically.
Seriously.
I wasn't a smoker. I didn't need an outlet.
But everybody was in the 80s. I don't understand. This is difficult. Okay.
And then, middle of summer, middle of Texas, I swear, dude, driving around with that thing with its windows open was like having a hairdryer blow in your face. It was that miserable.
Yeah, and you weren't going very fast either. I don't understand the fuzzbuster necessity, given that you barely could go past the speed limit in that thing.
Yeah. So I don't think that speed and styling are
Okay.
But I asked Steve just to make sure that something hasn't changed in the last 6 years
Okay. So
since you graduated.
Do you need all-wheel drive?
Yes. The Chicago winters are brutal, and the Subaru, the Outbacks all-wheel drive was phenomenal. So I don't want to lose at least that part of my experience in driving a car. The Subaru Outback also was very practical. I was able to just put enough things into that car, put the 2 back seats down, and I could load it up like crazy. So I do want a car that's practical, that I'm going to be able to fill up, put things in, whether it be for going out for the weekend or going for a longer trip, just putting things in there, moving things around, whatever I need to do, in terms of practicality.
So that narrows the field again, because I think you mentioned the Kia Niro, and also the Niro, I believe, was actually the only one hybrid. That is only, I believe, front-wheel drive. So let's
take that off the list.
Yeah,
and the other thing I noticed is there are no Subarus on this list, And I think Subaru is late to the hybrid game, right?
Well, no, they kind of they
had
had on and off.
They had that stupid Crosstrek hybrid, which got, I believe it was worse fuel economy than
No,
the
it was okay.
Dude, it was one MPG better.
It came and left and then came back, and I think it's still being sold, but it's not. It's not one of their better vehicles.
You paid like $5,000 more for one MPG.
Yeah, honestly, it wasn't great. Okay, so now let's talk about.
Hold on. Having said that, I know some inside information.
Okay.
Steve went to look at Subarus yesterday.
Oh God, Steve, you really got to let it go.
What did you go look at?
We went to look at the 2025 Subaru Forester.
Which is not a hybrid.
No,
It is not a hybrid, and it does not get very good gas mileage compared to the other.
It's a bit boxy. I know the design isn't boxy, but it is kind of a big box.
So, did that size appeal to you though? Did the configuration appeal to you?
You know what? It doesn't look quite as tall, or at least it doesn't feel when you look at it from the front or even from the back, as tall as the previous model. So it did appeal to me because when you put those two seats down in the back, again, a lot of room to put a lot of different things in there.
Yeah. Okay. So this is important because I think we can narrow it down. And also, that's the price point you're looking at. Am I correct? So we're talking about between, say, 30 and 40?
I would say
high 20s.
After having looked, I was going to say I mentioned to Roman that I would like to stay in the $20,000 range.
So keep in mind, because of COVID and parts supply, the average new car today is $47,000. So you might want to move your butt over to like the Mitsubishi dealership and look at a Mirage if you want to stay.
They only have one hybrid and it's not $45,000.
Yeah, if you want to stay in the 20. Actually, that is not a bad idea. The Mitsubishi,
the Outlander,
that's a
Outlander
PHEV. Sport. That's another one.
Yeah, it's good. The Outlander, but he wants a hybrid, and so the only hybrid they sell is the PHEV.
plug-in hybrid. Yeah,
and it's pretty good.
It's actually not bad. Yeah, Steve, that might be something.
There's a couple issues.
Okay.
First of all, I don't think it's going to be as inexpensive as he thinks. There's limited supply.
Oh, dude, I drove by the Longmont dealer. They have
Longmont. That's not
They have 30 of them like lined up. Because that's basically the only car that Subaru sells right now. Now, one of the cars,
Mitsubishi.
One of the cars that's on your list actually might be a bargain-ish because you put the Venza, and as you know,
yes, that's where I was going.
The Venza's going away, and it's being replaced by the Crown, and then there's the new Crown Insignia now that just got unveiled, which is like a Lexified Toyota.
Yes,
but the Venza's a great car. I mean, if you don't mind the looks, it's like a giant whale, right? It's got this big, giant maw. It looks like it's searching for plankton all the time.
It's very smooth in terms of its design. Now, it was built from the offset to be basically a very simple but luxurious on the inside crossover hybrid. Nothing special about it except it's extremely efficient and
high 30s, Nathan, in real life.
Yes, and here's the good news. They're trying to get rid of them right now because it's being replaced by the Crown and because the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid and the RAV4 Hybrid Prime, those two are far more interesting for people to buy, and they buy way more of them. They've sold very few Venzas. So the Venza is a good choice, but I also want to move over.
Before you get there, can I do one more thing?
Yes, you can.
Okay, hey, Steve, here's the thing about the Venza and the Crown, which I think you'll appreciate. So in Japan, they do this thing where they build tall sedans, right? They build tall sedans, and a tall sedan means that because Japan's demographics are such that it's aging. The taller the vehicle, the easier it is to get in and out of. It's easier to load stuff in, like your grandkids. And so what Subaru has done, they have taken that trend and made it into the active outdoor vehicle, but you don't really care about that. You're not going off-road. So a Venza is actually taller than, it's taller than your average sedan. It's kind of a tall sedan with a lot of room. So it is a good choice.
I like that.
Yeah, and it's in the mid-30s, and I'm pretty sure you could negotiate on that one. Once again, they're trying to get rid of them. And
the starting price, Nathan just looked up $35,000.
Yeah, well, here's the good news about the starting price. That starting price comes with a lot of standard features. There's only a couple trims. There's only a couple options. So that is something that you can get, and most likely you'll be able to get it with some extra goodies thrown in, including the sunroof and stuff like that. So it's definitely worth considering, and we drove it before, and I kept telling people, if you're looking for a RAV4 hybrid, this is a better alternative because
I think it's roomier.
They're pretty close, but it's more luxurious. Yeah. And It's also, in many cases, a lot less expensive. So that is something to keep in mind. One other vehicle I'd probably recommend on that list that you gave us, just that stuck out, would be the Honda CR-V hybrid. It's really good. It's just a very solid vehicle. They did a very good job. Yeah, I don't think it's quite as efficient as the Venza.
Hey, you know what this is? This is me falling asleep over here.
Well, what do you? Obviously, I'd rather tell him about the cool stuff.
It's just such a boring ass car. It's like
Well, this is your best friend.
I know.
You're the one who's
I mean,
yelling at
the
him.
CRV is a great car, but you're gonna park it at your local. Is there still a Dominic's in Illinois, or do they get shut down? What?
They're gone.
How about
They're gone.
Jewel? Is that still around, or is that gone
They're
too?
still around. Yep.
So what are you talking
So
about?
you
Retirement
park the
communities?
CRV. No. You park the CRV at the Jewel, and there'll be 3 other CRVs parked right next to you in the
Yes.
same color.
There's no disagreeing that the CRV is yawn inspiring, but the CRV hybrid, the newest one, drives really nice.
It does drive
It's
nice.
got good power. It's efficient. It's roomy. It's utilitarian.
And it's expensive.
It may
So
not be,
there is one smaller one than that, Steve. If you don't need that much room, you could go HRV.
the HRV,
Which is the one below it. So-
I would not recommend that car.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Nathan. So the way the cars work is they're segments, right? So there's subcompact, compact, midsize, and usually when automakers build a car, they look to see what the competitors are doing, and then they price them accordingly. So if you're looking at the HRV would be a compact crossover. Yeah, that would compete directly with the Corolla Cross. Nathan just looked it up, and
No, that's the CRV.
he said the CRV starts at 30,000, but dude, good luck
It's,
finding
good
it.
luck finding that.
Yeah.
You're most likely going to be probably in the mid $30,000 zone with that vehicle as well.
And then one of the cars on your list was the Escape. If I were getting an Escape, I'd go for the Bronco Sport, which is built on the identical platform.
But they don't have a hybrid version.
They don't have a hybrid version of it, but it's a cool car. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and listen, my question to you guys is, which one of these that you've mentioned is dependable? I mean, I know Hondas are dependable. Toyotas.
The Venza is.
Between one or the other, are they pretty much equal? Or the Hyundais, the Mazda, the Ford? Which ones are most dependable? The Kia.
So until recently, I would have said Toyota, but Toyota has had some growing pains recently. We've had some issues with some of our Toyotas. The thing about Honda is their first go-around at the hybrid system was kind of not great. And so they stopped building hybrids, and then they came back and started building hybrids again. And I think the second go-around is much better. But you can't argue the fact that Toyota was the first to build a successful hybrid. They've been doing it forever. The batteries that they use, and not a plug-in hybrid, but a regular hybrid, probably go at least 250,000 miles, which is where your Subaru's at. And I wouldn't worry about like the hybrid system whatsoever on a Toyota. So I still think if you want reliability, Nathan, you'd be hard pressed to go with anybody else but Toyota. And I'm not saying the other ones aren't reliable. I'm just saying Toyota has been building it the longest.
Yeah, and they have a few things that are unique to what they build. Once again, I'm going to go back to the Venza. You also mentioned the Toyota Corolla Cross, and we've driven it, and it's a perfectly good vehicle. It's tiny bit less expensive.
It's also smaller.
It is, exactly. It's smaller. It's Corolla basically, so think smaller. So you're going between the sizes, and the more utility. Well, frankly, you could squeeze that out of both the CRV and the Venza. Between the CRV and the Venza, I would choose the Venza only because I'm sure you're going to get a pretty good deal on it. And it's using old Toyota tech, meaning that is stuff that's been around for a long time and it's been tested. It's true. The Venza itself has a very good history in terms of.
But can you get one? They might be all gone.
No, they're still in the lots.
Are they?
Yeah.
Because the Crown replaced it.
Let's
Let's
see
see if they're still in the lots. Because I think the last Venza was a 2023 model. So we're kind of halfway through 2024. So I'm sure dealers had them sitting on the lots into 2024. But Nathan's looking around here to see.
I'm going to try to look in your neighborhood, actually, because it doesn't make sense to look here when it's over there, right?
Look in Chicagoland, which sounds weird to people who aren't from Chicagoland, but to me it sounds normal.
Well, Hollywoodland, right?
so
that's what they used to call it back in your day.
What are you going to go through Costco? Is that what you were saying you're going to try to do?
I am. Yeah, Costco Auto Program. That's what we used to buy the Subaru Outback 10 years ago. And it worked out great. It was so easy, get in there. You pick out the car you want. They contact you. The dealer does. They say, we have that car. That's the price that you were quoted by Costco, and it's generally between $1,500 to $2,000 less, lower than MSRP. So I don't know if that's really that great. I suppose these days you probably aren't going to be able to negotiate very much with these cars. But as you guys mentioned, the Venza being on its way out, maybe I'll have more latitude to negotiate.
Yeah, the problem is right now.
Into a 4.
Yeah, the problem is right now that hybrids are in high demand because that's kind of where everybody is. So you could get great deals on electric cars. I'll give you an example. If you want to get an electric car, I would definitely go for a Tesla Model Y. Tesla just introduced a 1.9% APR through June 15th. I was on their website poking around for you, which is pretty good when interest rates are at like 7%, right?
Yeah, that's great.
But it sounds like you're not comfortable with electric, and I think I would have to see if there's a supercharger in the area. If there's a supercharger where you're going, Steve, no problem. If there isn't one, then you're going to have issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you discovering there, Nathan? What are you looking at?
It's going to take me just another minute. Sorry, guys. I'm not my teenage son. What's the...
now, GM doesn't necessarily have that many hybrids
code in
yet.
Chicago? Does Chicago even have zip codes?
60521. Just go for that.
It's not... You're seeing what's happening.
Yeah.
It won't let me do it.
So you could try Auto Tempest. That's a good search tool that a lot of people are using.
Okay.
If you just want to go and look at dealers and see, Auto Trader's another one. You can go see what vehicles are out there.
So the good news is they are 2024 models, so they are still new, meaning that they are still going on to the lots. And I think part of the reason why is because we're not talking about just the United States, North American market, and they still have a lot of vehicles. I think they didn't sell as many as they expected to sell. I think that might be part of it too.
It never caught on. Yeah.
Well, and I think rightfully so, because it had direct competition within itself.
Well, let's look at some of any other cars that you were thinking of. You're still thinking about like a RAV4 hybrid, or how about the Kia or the Hyundai options? Because Kia and Hyundai have just made huge strides in some of their vehicles.
There is another Toyota we haven't discussed too.
Okay.
That's one of the things I've run into is that my wife used to own a Kia the Hyundai, when those Hyundais first came out. And I think she paid $4,900. I don't know if you guys remember.
Oh my God, $40 for a brand new Hyundai, huh?
That's probably.
And the less expensive one was $3,900. So she bought $4,900, and it was a lemon. From the moment she took it off the lot to the moment she finally got rid of it, she just hated it. So she's got a bad taste in her mouth. But I've shown her these beautiful Hyundais. The Genesis, of course. I think you guys were telling me about this. The Genesis is also made by Hyundai. But now we're talking about $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 worth of SUV. So we can't. That's
60521.
Yeah.
So Nathan's trying to find you a car in your neighborhood, but I would definitely not turn my back on either the Tucson or the Sportage. The Sportage is new, if I remember right. Didn't you go look at that? Weren't you driving that?
There is a new Sportage.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for a while, but I don't. They're okay.
Here's the thing with both Hyundai and Kia, great cars. I would say the dealer network is pretty not great.
Okay.
I don't know what it is.
That's part of my issue. And I've had issues with my dealership service. And even though it has a killer warranty, there have been warranty issues, simple things. I have a Hyundai, or soon to get rid of.
Yeah, he's got a Santa Cruz.
And I got to be honest with you, I have not been happy with the dealership experience, nor the experience of dealing with corporate. And even though I'm a journalist, dealing with corporate has so far been not great. Now, I'm not saying you'll have the same issue, but it's entirely possible.
But the nice thing about using a program like Costco is they do all that for you, right? You don't have to go in there. And so here's the thing about Costco, Nathan. Steve and Nathan. They do provide a discount and they do make the process simple. But you could probably get a much better deal if you actually went and found like a car that's a 2023. You see what I'm saying? They're going to try. They're not going to do that. So you might get $1,500 off. And the downside of that is that there might be better deals out there. But, your time is valuable. So is it worth having to go in and, wrestle a dealer down to $3,000 off?
There's definitely plenty in this area. It looks good white, no?
Yeah, he found a white one.
Yeah, it looks.
But look how much it is, $40,000.
Yeah.
Nathan found a white Venza for $40,000.
Well, this one's fully. It's the XLE. It's the top of the line.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you an example. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
So they're out there.
5, 6, 7. They're all in the low 40s, or here's one in the mid 30s. It has 6,000 miles on it. Honestly, I don't mind used cars as long as you are able to get either a certified pre-owned tag with it with warranty. That way you get usually even a better warranty sometimes than the new ones, which I usually recommend to my friends. I don't know why Roman's not recommending that to you, except for the fact that maybe he's just a crotchety old man who doesn't like his friend anymore. So here's a 2023 as an example. Has $17,000. It's $35,000.
17,000 miles?
17, yeah.
Oh, you said dollars. 17,000 miles.
$17,000. I'd buy it. Ah,
So
there's a lot. There's a lot in Chicago.
Look, with the used cars, I would just be very careful of the history report. I would not buy a used car without first getting a history report. And you'll be just amazed at like how much crappy stock is out there that's gotten a spit and shine. So we buy a lot of used cars, and I'm not afraid of buying used cars, but like you go in there, and if you see any like serious damage report, just
walk away. Yeah.
Anything that's a salvage title, walk away. And there's a lot of that.
So here's a very important point. A vehicle like the Venza is a very popular lease vehicle, and lease returns after 1 year tend to go under the average mileage, which is between 12 and 15,000 miles, meaning that you may be able to find a good lease return. And in many cases, the good news is a lot of those lease return vehicles tend to be in fairly good condition because they have to be brought in at certain intervals for service rather than someone just forgetting about it. You will be reminded, right? Yeah. So keep that in mind. But if it's anything older than a couple years old, then suddenly you start stacking up the deck against you. There's a possibility that a teenager had it, or went crazy, or Tommy got a hand on one, went on a bender and just decided to go off roading with it with 9 women. These things happen, and he didn't even laugh at the Tommy. God, you guys are the same. So anyway, my point is that
You're just too fast and furious with the jokes.
I tend to be. The thing to keep in mind is that if it's a lease return, you get a Carfax, and a Carfax isn't the holy grail, but it gives you a good opportunity to see whether or not the vehicle has been brought in for any major service or has been involved in a major accident. It's a good tool to have. And if the dealership doesn't offer you a free Carfax, absolutely walk away and tell them, hey, no free, hey, I'm done.
So here's we're going to wrap this up. And you guys, if you're watching this and you have some suggestions for Steve, let us know in the comments below.
Please.
Steve will read them, we'll read them. And then, of course, next week, if you have a new car the week after.
If he buys a Subaru, he's no longer your best friend.
We'll let you know what he ended up buying. But let me finish it this way because we got a lot of other things to discuss, Steve. I would say it depends how much work you want to do, right? When we buy used cars, it's a lot of work because you have to do a lot more research, and you have to kind of go in knowing what the history of the car is. And I'm not talking about only this specific car history, but like what problems they've had in the past, and then be aware of those problems. So it depends how much time and effort you want to put into it. To me, the plus to Costco is, and a new car is, you've got the 3-year warranty.
Yep.
You've got the guy buying the car for you, and it's just an easy way to buy a car. You show up, you get the keys, you drive home, and all is good. If you're going to get if you really want to get a used car from a dealer, I'd go pre-owned certified. My wife just bought one like that.
Exactly.
And then you're basically extending the new car warranty, and then you're also in that same kind of world where you don't have to worry about it. I think you've got so much going on in your life that you don't need to be doing a lot of work to find the perfect whatever it is, and then you certainly don't want to be in a situation where you have to go fight somebody because they sold you a lemon. So I would,
Right.
I think there are deals to be had right now. There's a lot of cars on the lot. We went from a situation with no cars on the lot to
overabundance of them. Hey, one more thing I wanted to recommend. It's actually a two-sided thing. There are organizations like CarMax and Carvana and whatnot. I've used Carvana before, mixed results, but mostly positive. And it is a good way to trade one car out and bring one car in, and it's convenient because they just bring it to you. You could drive it for.
Oh, there's going to be comments, Nathan.
No. But I've done it, so
I know. But there's going to be people who will be saying, "I use Carvana, and I had a horrible experience."
And they followed me home and they butchered my family. I get it. But there's people who've had bad experiences.
They had issues.
I'm giving him options
with titles.
Yes, which has been cleaned up recently. They're not paying me to say this. Now, here's the other part. Let's say that you really want to drive the car and you don't want to do it just for 10 minutes like at a test drive. There is an organization called Turo. you can go and most likely find the car that you're interested in, and you can rent it for a few days and drive it around and really get used to it. And I really do recommend that. I've had friends do that, and they've discovered that in many cases they really liked or really hated a car, and they were fortunate that they got a chance to spend some time behind the wheel over the course of a couple days.
And I'll give you one last option, Steve. In Colorado, we have AAA, and they have car buyer services, and I've got a really great guy here who can help you get a car for probably more under sticker, but that would mean you'd have to like call him, or buy it in Colorado, which is no big deal, and drive it home to Illinois.
And he'll get you really good Taylor Swift tickets too.
So if
He's a dealer.
He's not a dealer.
Listen, I'm always looking for an excuse to come out and visit you guys. So
There you
that
go.
might be an option.
So if that's something you're interested in, I'll hook you up with my friend who's a great car buyer, and he doesn't get paid to sell cars. In other words, he gets paid by AAA, so the dealership isn't paying him, which is good. But then that would mean picking up one here and driving it home. Anyway, we've hopefully helped you, and let us know in the comments below, guys, what Steve should buy, and we will keep you up to date as to what a vehicle you ended up getting and how we ended up getting it. So to be continued. So thanks, dude. I appreciate you taking the time.
You're welcome, you guys. Thank you guys, both of you. Really appreciate all the advice and the insights. Thanks again.
Our pleasure.
And maybe next time we'll Zoom it so I don't have to hold a phone by my speaker for half hour.
With those newfangled devices.
All right. See you next time. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Steve.
Bye.
Okay, there you go. Useless information for Steve.
All right. I've got some other topics I want to talk about.
Okay.
All right. First, let me give you, and this is kind of talking about trucks, but I've been driving a Cybertruck that we bought a month ago now?
Yeah, about that.
And there are three things that are Tesla specific that are really bugging me about it.
Elon?
No, nothing to do with Mr. Musk.
Okay.
About the truck, actually. So I'll go through them. First and foremost, and this is probably something that if you were buying it yourself for $100K, you'd already fixed, but because, we review cars and we need them to make videos, we haven't fixed it. You know that I love that tonneau cover in the back.
It's the worst.
But it works like
It does-
30% of the time. You
Yeah.
hit the button, and sometimes it opens, and
You
sometimes
need three
it-
people, so two people to push it, so it'll go up or down.
Yeah, it's misaligned, and
Yeah.
so it doesn't necessarily open or close with the push of a button. And then when it does actually close, sometimes it'll close, and then there's a sensor there, I guess, to make sure it doesn't cut your head off, which you can't because it's a big rubber molding there. But it'll bounce back, and then if it does close all the way, it's not straight, so that there's a little opening on the passenger side,
It's almost 3/4 of an inch,
so that if it rains or something, it's going to get wet.
which is the whole point of that tonneau cover, is to make sure it doesn't get wet, and yet it still gets wet.
Yeah, it still gets wet. So we haven't had that fixed, and it'll be fixed under warranty. But I think if I had spent my own money on it, I'd be pretty irked by that, because it's an expensive truck, and you expect a certain level of production care.
What's your favorite part of that truck? Aside from the looks, aside from
No, the looks is like driving a giant refrigerator. I have no doubt
No,
about
I
that.
mean, but it looks, the curb appeal
Well,
or whatever.
my
Forget
favorite
that.
part of that truck is what is my favorite part of any Tesla, and that is it just works really well with my life, right? Like you get in, your phone syncs up. I know it doesn't have CarPlay, but everything else it has works seamlessly. The key works every time. It's just super easy to live with on a daily basis, because Teslas are really good at the software component, not so good at the hardware, but really good at the software. I hate the fact that to this day, people, and we had it a month now, like the other day I was parking in front of my house and I had to back up gently into my garage, and there was a girl who drove by filming me, and I'm like, that's not a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
All right, let me keep going. So that's number 3. Number 2 is this weird thing where, you know how cars have blind side monitoring?
Yes.
And if there's a car on your blind side or a truck, it flashes like a little warning light
Sometimes in your mirror,
in the mirror,
or on your
sometimes,
dash.
yeah. Tesla has a little red light that pops up in the speaker grill.
Yeah, like a little LED, right?
Yeah, it's a little tiny LED. I mean, a little tiny LED that lights up in the speaker grill, which is kind of next to the rearview mirror on both sides. But
You mean the side view mirror?
yeah, side view mirror. But I that's not where I look, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking in the rearview mirror, and I completely overlook this little tiny LED.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. I've seen it.
And the thing that really bugs me is because Tesla, I think this is a cost-cutting measure, decided to get rid of those ultrasonic parking sensors. You know how most luxury cars, you pull up into your garage and it goes beep, 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 as you get closer, so you know you're about to hit the wall.
Yeah, my $32,000 car does that too.
Yeah, the truck, no bueno there.
Over $100,000, and it won't do that.
Yeah, so what you see is what you see over the hood, which is nothing. and or in the camera. And in the camera, you can't really tell how far you are to whatever it is. And it's a long truck, right? So inevitably, like it happened this morning, I went to my favorite kind of greasy spoon, Dot's Diner. Love it. Here in Boulder, if you want a locals place, Dot's Diner, have breakfast there. I went there and I parked the car and I got out. And dude, I was like 4 feet in front of the car that was parked in front of me, and the ass of that truck was hanging out way into the parking lot. From my line of vision, from the camera and what I was seeing, it looked like I had almost touched the car in front of me. Yet there were 4 feet right in front of me. It always happens. And then you're like, well, once you know that, you're like, well, I need to get closer. But then at what point do you get too close?
Can we please trade it in now for a Power Wagon?
That's the other thing. Here's the other thing, right? Tesla makes you sign an agreement that if you sell it,
Before the year is up.
before a year's up, 2 things happen. They ban you from buying any other Teslas, and they can sue you for $50,000. So in what world is this a good idea to basically tell your best customers and reward your best customers who have just spent either $100,000 or $120,000, depending on the foundation they got of the truck, that if they sell their car, you can't buy another one?
Well, Ford tried that with the GT, and I think John Cena managed to take them to court, and it was a really dirty, nasty, unpleasant moment.
Who's got John Cena money?
No, but there's a point here, which is that, they tried to Ford, and it wasn't very successful, and it was bad press for them. But Tesla doesn't mind bad press. They just don't care.
Yeah, I was reading a story, I think it was another blog, and what they were saying is there was a guy who put his reservation down on the Cybertruck 4 years ago, and in that moment of time, he was married. And since then, he got divorced, right? And he had to move into an apartment. So he bought the Cybertruck, but because he lives in an apartment now, he doesn't have a place to park it, and he can't sell it because he's afraid that Tesla, and let's face it, a lot of people have sold theirs. They do come up on auction sites. They are being resold, but he's like, I'm a guy who believes in rules, and I signed an agreement, so I'm not going to break that agreement. But it does illustrate the point that all they're managing to do is create bad press. And dude, it's like, hey, I walk into a jeweler and I buy, I don't know, the most expensive Rolex they have. And let's say I bought 4 others like we have, right? And if I sell that Rolex, then they're going to tell me, we're not going to sell you another Rolex, even though I've now bought 4 of them. That just, to me, seems, asinine and short-sighted. Sure, that may work in like the Ferrari world, or maybe now the Porsche world. But Tesla's not Porsche or Ferrari, right?
No,
they're going to build as many of these trucks.
Yeah, they want to mass produce them, and I'm willing to bet that after probably the second model year of this, I bet you they're going to drop that, because by then they'll have enough in the market, saturating the market to where it's no longer financially viable for them to push that on them, and I think they'll just do what they do with their other cars, which is whatever you want to do.
Well, it's just counterproductive, like
I agree.
Firing the entire supercharger team.
Like, yeah, although I
heard, much bad press.
I heard he backed off on that, and he rehired a few or something like that.
Right, but he's got this mystique of like turning everything he touches to gold.
Yeah, no, that's
And I think something along the last 10 years has happened where his mind has gone to a completely different place. And when he started, for instance, hating on this is not, I don't want to get political, but hating on Democrats who also tend to be the people who buy his cars. That just seems really silly to me.
I honestly. I've met the guy twice.
Yeah.
All right. I actually think that he's not as evil and maniacal as people think he is. It's easy to paint him into a corner, but at the same time, he's also not this incredible genius that people are painting him as well, because he's smart enough to surround himself with the smartest people in the room to design these things, the rockets, the cars, and whatnot. That's not him. He's not the one who's penning these things. I think a lot of people don't know that. And then the second part of that is that, he's made some bad decisions, and this is what happens when you are one of the richest people on the planet. You can get away with these things. I'm surprised his board hasn't found a way to eject him, although I hear they've been trying. So it's neither here nor there. He's made some decisions, but we've made the decision to buy his stuff 4 times. 4 times we bought his stuff. 4 times we've helped put his kids through college, because otherwise they won't.
He doesn't need our help to put his kids through.
That's what I mean. Yeah, but the point is that we bought a lot of his vehicles.
Yeah, but that's our job.
That is our job. But my point is, if we were so alienated by the man, we wouldn't buy his stuff if it got to that point.
No, we still would, because that's our job.
No,
so
there's other vehicles that where we feel like we need to step away from for one reason or another.
Because I think what Nathan's talking about is Subaru, but they don't work with us, so they don't loan us vehicles. So
does Tesla work with us? No. Do they work with anybody?
But they-
No.
they-
Do they have PR? No.
But Tesla didn't actively blacklist us, which is what Subaru
Well,
did.
they would if we sold this truck right away, which I'm still recommending.
Okay, but I'm saying they didn't actively blacklist us. I don't know if they even know we exist, which is fine. I kind of like it that way.
Elon knows of us.
Sure.
No, he does. He knows about us.
All right, let me tell you while we're talking about the Cybertruck, something else that happened to me. This is kind of funny. So I'm driving it in a supermarket, and there was obviously a car guy because he rolled up in it was an RS3 or an S3. I'm not sure, Audi, right?
Uh-huh.
And he rolls up, and I'm walking to the supermarket, and he stops in front of me, and he says, "Hey, love the Tesla truck," which is really nice. So people either love it or hate it.
Yeah.
But here's the part that was interesting. He was sitting next to his either wife or girlfriend, and she looked at me, and you could tell she was embarrassed. Like she was like, "This guy, hey, I'm sorry." And so I turned around to her, and I said, "Please don't be embarrassed. Your husband, I assumed, just made my day." Right, because I felt like that was a very nice thing for him. If he had said, you're an idiot for buying that, then I wouldn't have had that reaction. But he was super nice to me, and like I said, she felt embarrassed for him, and then I wanted to make sure that he got some noogie that night.
Oh God, bro, you're just. This is now we're in the cringe factor. What's your friend gonna say? He's listening.
No, but I felt for him. Let me be less cringy. I felt for him because I've been in that situation where my own wife thinks what I'm doing is embarrassing,
right?
And yet at the same time, because of what I'm doing is not embarrassing, at least in my mind, I want to let her know that this guy made me feel good and made my day.
Okay, that's fair enough. I tend to, when I'm lucky enough to meet a fan, I usually am very grateful. And
he wasn't a fan. He was just a dude. Not a fan. He just was a guy who liked what I was driving.
He was a fan of the truck.
Yes.
But nonetheless, I mean, it's sort of the same thing. And you acknowledge them. And I'm usually very grateful to them. And yeah, I've been embarrassed. I was at Disneyland with my family a little over a year ago. And we kept getting recognized. Even though I wasn't wearing anything of TFL, I mean, I guess I look a little bit similar to camera. And they were coming up, and at one point, my daughter had the eye roll down to the point to where she could do it almost with her eyes closed. She'd do this eye roll thing where they would come up and hug me, right? And I could just see my daughter doing this thing. She lowers her head, rolls her eyes, and I finally turned to her and I said, "Well, would you rather they hate me?" And ever since then, she's totally come out of that ether. So I think that's a nice thing.
So I had the exact opposite experience.
Oh, no.
Because I love Disneyland. I'm just a sucker for it. I'll be the first to admit it. As a kid growing up, and my parents took me to Walt Disney World in Orlando.
Yeah.
And so when my wife lived in L.A., they had a party at Disney for her law firm. And so I got to go and kind of hang out and go on some of the rides, with all the other coworkers. And I asked somebody, I said, because there's huge lines, right? I mean, you're looking at hours of waiting time to get on the most popular rides. So I asked somebody, I said, when's the best time to go here when there's nobody here? And the person said, these are, because there's Disney, I don't know what they call themselves, but they're definitely aficionados, right? Disney listas, Disney, whatever you call yourself, I'm sure there's a name for super fans of Disney. And the super fan told me, get this, Super Bowl Sunday when it's raining in LA.
That makes a lot of sense.
So that same year, guess what? Super Bowl Sunday, it was raining. So I'm like, it's on.
Yeah.
So I go to the park. It's half empty. I am loving life. I'm going on all the rides. Plus, I'm by myself, so there's a singles line. So if there was a line, I can cut that because I'm not cutting it, but there is a singles line.
Yeah. So you can get around. Yeah.
Get around. Yeah. And so I went on the haunted house ride, and I was recognized by a fan. And he looks at me and he said, "Oh, you're from TFL." I said, "Yes." And he looked at me and said, "Where are your kids?" And that's when it dawned on me that as a 50-some-year-old man, playing at Disneyland by myself is definitely not the look I want to go for.
I understand that.
I felt so horrible and so cringy that I immediately left because I didn't have a good answer. Because there's two answers, and both are, one is horrible, which is not true, but one is also bad, and that is I'm a 50-year-old guy who loves to go on kids' rides.
See, I don't see anything wrong with that. My attitude is dance like they as if they're not watching you, basically.
Yeah, but before we could have done that before the PC world. But now, by the way, did you listen to that new song by Eminem, Houdini? Have you heard that?
No, because I listen to punk rock, heavy metal, and hard rock, and I mean, he's an okay guy. I got no problem with him, but he's not my type of music.
He's also in our age. He's also in his 50s now.
Yeah,
He's like-
yeah.
I think he's like 53 or 54. Anyway, the best part about that song was like what he does is like he kind of brings back his
Can't
great.
believe you're telling me about Eminem. This is just
He brings in the new song. He like, look who's back, look who's back. That
Right,
part,
right,
right?
right.
He brings that back, and then he deep fakes himself against his younger self.
okay.
So like you have his younger self, and then he's like talking to him from his older self.
Okay.
And one of the things about that he takes on in the videos, which is he's always done, is like the PC culture that we're living in. Right? There's a line where he like takes a participation trophy and throws it at a kid. You know, stuff that is definitely not PC.
Right.
And it made me realize just how far we've come, and maybe too far in being PC.
Oh yeah. I mean, if this was a different podcast, I would
I don't want to go there,
love
but
to
it
regale
was
people.
it was a nice breath of fresh air to see like this kind of counterculture rapper come back and take a swing at at what's happened to us, and he takes Steve Miller's Abracadabra. And he samples it, and that's what the song is put to. Which is,
Okay.
I love the Steve Miller Band, so it was also a great memory for me.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to see that you're hitting it hard and hanging with your homie in Michigan. I believe he's he might still live there. Anyway,
Should we get back to cars?
Yes, that'd be
All right,
great.
I've
I was
got-
trying to with the Michigan thing.
I've got a video that you'll be doing. I'm going to spring it on you right now.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so you just reviewed the new Prius Prime, which is sitting kind of just behind our door.
Just a damn good car.
Yeah, it's a good car, but you're going to do a fun review next week with Andre, and that is this. So Case just went, Case does our motorcycle channel.
Yeah.
So he drove it to Cresta Butte.
Uh-huh.
And I said, when you go to Cresta Butte, Case, let's find out just what kind of fuel economy this Mustang gets. So keep
Okay.
in mind, it's a Mustang GT with almost 500 horsepower.
Yeah.
And so he did a fuel economy loop, and guess what kind of fuel economy you get? Take a guess what the number was. And this is going over mountain passes. This is not like
26.
31.
You're kidding.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, 31. Because let's face
That's
it.
got that 10 speed, so it's geared.
10 speed, and you've got this very lopey V8 that if you're not like flooring it all the time, just gets incredible fuel economy
Yeah,
because
it's
the car goes in,
probably like 1,200 RPM.
and goes. Yeah. So I thought we've been doing these, and there's one on the channel this weekend. These videos where we're comparing like hybrids to electric vehicles and non-hybrids to electric to regular internal combustion engine cars.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it'd be fun to do the same thing and see what kind of fuel economy you can get in the Prius versus the Mustang GT. Taking two completely different cars, because the kind of the thinking out there is a V8 is going to be thirsty and they got to go, blah blah blah, and the new plug-in hybrids are the cat's pajamas. Sorry about the old reference. So let's see if that's true. So you and
Well,
Andre.
Suffer and Succotash, I think you have a great idea there. And we're going to amble on over those cars and what other old.
So we're
terms
going
can I
to
use
do
for-
our 100-mile loop,
Okay.
which we now have changed up a little bit to end at Buc-ee's.
Okay.
So you can get some beaver chips or beaver nuggets.
What are you talking about? They have that pulled pork there.
You can get that as well.
That is some good stuff. That's kosher pork. That is.
So
It's good stuff.
So I'm curious to see, and I think I love these kinds of man bites dog stories where the Prius might not be as grand in terms of fuel economy compared to the Mustang GT as people think.
It's going to spank it in every way, but I could be wrong. I will tell you that it's interesting you bring that up. Two things, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
First of all, Toyota is now in the process of building an even more impressive internal combustion engine to work with their hybrid system. And they partnered with both Mazda and Subaru to build new hybrid systems for the next generation of cars. So the hybrids are really coming back into view. Remember at 2008, everybody wanted a hybrid, and it was like a huge spike, and then it went away.
Gas prices.
Right. Yeah. But there were other factors as well, tree huggers and what have you. But now it's kind of making a bit of a resurgence, but now it's making it in more cars. There's almost every car that you can get, I'd say 90% of them have some form of hybrid option available, maybe 80%. But anyway, it's really out there. So anyway, that's the first thing. Second thing, we were just talking about Disneyland. Did you know that they're getting rid of Autotopia, the little gas cars they
I
have?
know, I was so bummed.
But they're replacing them with electric cars.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. A little bit of extra Disneyland information for you right from the source. Okay. But I wanted to go back to this thing. I'm looking forward to the challenge. I'm looking forward to going to Buc-ee's. And
I think we'll put you, because it's going to be you and Andre, and I think we'll put you, I was going to say Prius just to piss you off, but you're the GT guy.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more. I don't like going slow, and it's going to put the car at a disadvantage. I think Andre's more technical about it.
So maybe we'll put you in the. Which one would you prefer to be in?
It would be better on video if I was inside the Prius.
All right, you're in the Prius.
Put
Done.
the fat guy in the smaller car.
All right, we'll put you.
That's
We'll
what
put you in the Prius,
yeah.
and we'll have Andre in the GT.
Yeah, and besides, if there's a chance that there's a cop on the road, he will most likely pull over Andre instead of me. I am completely okay with that.
Yeah, the Prius is kind of invisible, isn't it?
Yeah, even though it's really pretty, and that blue, it's got a weird name to that blue color too. It's like foundation blue.
And it's funny because it's the same kind of blue like the Mustang. So we're gonna have two blue cars.
Yeah, they're both blue, but and it's got those weird caps on it, which are for aerodynamics, and they look terrible. The wheels underneath actually look decent. It's kind of a funny thing, what you sacrifice for a better aero, but you also get one MPG better, is what I've been told, if you have the hubcaps on. Okay, so we're going to do that next week. I'm looking forward to it. And that, Roman, will be my last full week in Colorado doing TFL.
Yeah, you're moving out to LA. If you guys haven't heard, Nathan's going to be the new TFL bureau chief in the West Coast.
Yes.
So I'm super excited. We've actually, some of you have emailed us saying, hey, if you need a videographer, but luckily Matt, our old videographer who moved to California to be with his father who was sick, who's now gotten better.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. That's great to hear. Is available. And so we're putting the old team back together again.
Yeah, Matt and I have worked together on several projects. He's a wonderful videographer.
I would say
editor.
several hundred projects.
Several hundred.
Yeah. He was here for like 5 years.
Yeah. He cranked out quite a bit. So
I'm super excited. He's one of the most creative guys we had.
Yes, he is, and he and I are buddies. So this just works great. There are other people who sent messages. I've sent messages back to you.
He's going surfing with Alex this weekend. He
Matt?
is. Yeah, Alex is flying out to go surfing with
Alex.
Matt. Yeah.
Alex is. So the whole crew, and guys, just I got messages like, we'll miss you, you'll never come back. No, I'm going to come back. I am hoping, if everything works out, to be back every couple months, to be in various challenges or various events and work with the guys. So it's not like I'm going to be up and gone. And at the same time, the miracle of video and Zoom and all the other things that are out there should allow me to be part of some of these other discussions in the future. So just keep that in mind. I just wanted you to know.
And before we wrap this up, I want to ask Nathan to tell us a story
Yeah.
of woe about his Mini.
Oh my God! I brought it. It's actually outside right now.
All right, so we'll but before we get to the story of woe with the Mini, we are doing, and we started this week, and we started here actually, a new midweek series, which Nathan will hopefully help me with next week, and that is what car should I buy?
Wow.
And so we're helping you guys decide what car you should buy, and kind of using our years of driving every car that's sold in America experience to help you decide what's right for you, and that's going to be our midweek video series, and we're probably going to alternate. Well, we will do what truck should I buy, and then next week we'll do what car should I buy.
And is this based on their requests, on what they ask us?
So what we do is it's a live show, so we record it live, and then we have a topic of discussion. This week it was, and we had some technical difficulties because, it was live with the microphones, but this week it was what truck should I buy, Raptor, Ranger Raptor, or TRD Pro.
Okay.
And so me and you will do the same thing next week with what car should I buy, and think about what cars we should compare.
Okay.
So it's got to be something we've driven, and hopefully something that's new and exciting that very few other people have driven. And then what we do is we answer the questions live that people pose during the comments.
The answer is always the Bentley Mulsanne.
Yes.
Yes, like the Mulsanne Straight. It is the best car ever.
You've been watching TikTok where it's like Bentley,
Yeah, I know. Having people grace the Dan and tickle the top of it. I'm sorry, I'm not a really good-looking woman who can do that for you, but Tommy has a funny video where he does that.
This, like Bentley.
Yeah.
Right? And then Unimog. Bentley.
So, do you want to quickly?
Yeah, tell the story of woe about your Mini.
This is kind of
Don't
a mixed,
spare any details. Yeah.
Okay, this is a mixed blessing. So, recently we went to Moab, Utah, and Roman. It was last minute. He called me up and said, "Dude, you got to get here. Some changes," and I had to go on this trip with Roman.
And that video's coming this weekend.
That video is coming out this
weekend.
weekend.
We took the new Land Cruiser and
versus the old Land Cruiser,
and put it through its paces. By the way, if you guys were interested in the old Land Cruiser, it's sold. So gone.
Okay.
But we did have a lot of fun with the new one out there, and we really put it through some hard stuff. So that's over at All TFL.
Okay. So in order to do that, we usually meet in Golden, Colorado, where I park my vehicle and they pick me up, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So while we were gone, I get a panic phone call from my wife The car is destroyed. We just had a major hailstorm.
Oh, we get horrible hail here.
Sometimes we really do. I mean, so does Texas and other states, of course, but they were golf ball sized. And her car, which is, it's a Mini. It's a 2015 Mini Cooper Countryman. And she has beat the crap out of that car, and we've kept it going. It's a great car. She loves it. She does wheelies in it all the time, but it's been pretty well used. But she's managed to keep the sheet metal fairly nice, and we fixed whatever she's managed to destroy on it. Well, not this time. Man, every panel has a ding on it. The fuel cap cover was broken off by the hail. But worse, there's this cover where the windshield wipers, the actual lower section meets the car, and there's a plastic panel there. And I'm thinking between the fact that it's an older car, so the heat has saturated that plastic, and how big the hail was, it broke right through it, and you can literally see the engine compartment. Large.
Oh my God.
I can stick my fist through some of the holes in this thing. So the insurance company, I already met with them this morning. I'm going to meet with them again on Wednesday. And
you don't have to take whatever offer. You can dispute it.
Yeah. How much time do I have before I have to leave Colorado?
This is always,
you know what I mean?
By the way, I was just looking at my phone. That was Steve texting me. I thought maybe he had made a decision, but he just thanked us for being for letting him be on the show. So you could dispute it because obviously
which I've done before.
They're going to lowball you.
Yeah. And most likely they're going to total the car out. I think if you go past half the value of the vehicle in order to repair it with hail damage, they'll total it out. And then they give you an option where they'll give you a check and say you can fix the car for this amount, this is what we're giving you, or you keep the money, but your vehicle is no longer, you can't insure it other than the basic insurance.
It's a salvage title.
Yeah, it's a salvage. It's what you turn the car into. Not sure what we're going to do yet. Depends on what they give us, but it's safe to say that my wife is really upset about the situation. Ironically, the one brand newish car we have, that's going away very soon. And so we're going to replace that with an old used truck. And I'm okay with that because we're moving to LA, not a lot of hailstorms in LA.
Yeah. And it's the best news is you get to buy a new car, or you get to, well, I know what, you can buy that Range Rover, Land Rover, or Montero you've always been dreaming of. I'm sure your wife would come back with an old Pajero.
Since I've married her, I've had 3 Monteros. And if I get another one, she's going to take something from my body that I need. So I don't want to do that. No, the bottom line here is that when we move, and I'm going to wait until we move, the car runs just fine. It just looks like a golf ball.
Those are paragons of reliability.
I know.
You had one of those too.
Yeah, look, the last generation Montero, I will admit, had some issues, but the other ones were great.
Here's the irony. So Nathan has this history of buying these great classic old cars that are known for nothing but misery because they're cool but completely unreliable. And then the one reliable vehicle that you did buy, which was the Tacoma, she made you get rid of.
Yeah, that is pretty damn funny, isn't it?
Isn't it?
I'm going to remind her of that too. We're going to keep the car most likely. Unless they give us some outrageous amount, and then we'll replace it. But otherwise, we'll probably wait until we get to Los Angeles. It's less likely to be stolen if it looks like a golf ball, and then we'll eventually turn around and sell it. And I'm probably going to buy her a newish hybrid of some sort.
There you go. We're back to hybrids.
I know. What are you going to buy in LA?
Especially in LA. So
$6 per gallon.
So this weekend we're publishing this video where we compared the Cybertruck to the Land Cruiser to see which. Actually, the number that people care about, I think, and that is which costs more to drive.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So we drove them to Buc-ee's and for 100 miles, and then we filled them both up and kind of got you that number of how much it costs to drive 100 miles. But the interesting part of all that is I've completely forgotten what I was going to say.
That's okay, because it's a question of whether or not it's logical to get an electric car in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah. The interesting part there was that we were kind of putting this theory to the test that electric cars are cheaper to drive than
gas vehicles.
EVs, because we compared to Cybertruck.
You said electric.
No, I'm sorry. Hybrids are EVs are cheaper to drive than hybrids.
Yes.
That was the theory we were testing, and the results will surprise you. Normally, I will give you the results because I hate hey, you have to go watch the YouTube channel.
But you got to go watch the YouTube channel.
But you got to go watch the YouTube channel because that was a lot of work.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a good hour. A little bit of a different video this time, I think you'll agree, or a different podcast. Let us know if this is a format that you like, if we actually have call-in people who are helping right there on the line. If so, I have a best friend who never listens to me. He went out and bought 2, not 1, but 2 Mustang Mach-E's. He lives in San Francisco and he wants all electric. And I gave him 19 different options and he didn't listen to
the
any of them.
Mach-E's not bad.
It's not great for families, though. There are better options.
Yeah,
and he didn't listen and he didn't care because he's my best friend. Anyway, so thanks for joining. I hope he's listening, but he's probably not. Guys.
Your brothers don't listen to you either, do
No,
they?
none of my brothers, none of my sisters. I'm the youngest. Nobody listens to me. My wife doesn't. My dogs don't listen to me.
Isn't it funny that like the closer you become to somebody, the less they listen to your advice? It's
I
true.
know, it is pretty funny.
Because they know you too well.
If I was a doctor, there'd be so many dead people who took my advice or didn't take my advice. You know what I mean? So, okay. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, and check out alltfl.com because there's a lot of cool videos that are up this weekend. We shall see you next week. Ciao.
Take care.